Illinois becomes 11th state to allow recreational marijuana.
Good job.
Illinois, huh?
Illinois' new governor delivered on a top campaign promise Tuesday by signing legislation making the state the 11th to approve marijuana for recreational use in a program offering legal remedies and economic benefits to minorities whose lives critics say were damaged by a wayward war on drugs.
The really good thing about this is that it was done legislatively. It wasn't it wasn't basically a ballot initiative. They finally, states are finally, like I think Vermont also did that by their legislature. So it's good. I mean, look. Every state should do this. It's about time.
The dominoes are falling. I mean there are less states in the United States now that have some kind of legal path to marijuana.
Like 23% of U.S. states have legal marijuana. I'm not sure by population what
I think it's more than that. I think if you take into account medical, I think now 31 states have some kind of access to marijuana that's federally, banned. So
constitutional amendment, Paul. Marijuana is legal in the U.S.
I mean, it's going to have to happen. I mean, at some point.
Legalization in Illinois also means that nearly 800,000 people with criminal records for purchasing or possessing 30 grams of marijuana or less
That's about an ounce
may have those records expunged. A provision minority lawmakers and interest groups
Does that mean people that are currently incarcerated as well?
Maybe.
Oh, no.
It also gives cannabis vendor preference to minority owners and promises 25% of tax revenue for marijuana sales to redevelop impoverished communities.
I don't have a problem with all of that, but I don't like that there's no mention of marijuana convictions in the state being expunged.
Yes,
like any state marijuana conviction should be expunged along with this law. There's no way that somebody should be serving, 10 years in prison for dealing weed in a state where you can walk into a store and buy it.
100% agree with you.
So here's what they're saying. The war on cannabis has destroyed families, filled prisons with nonviolent offenders, disproportionately disrupted black and brown communities, Pritzker said. Law enforcement across the nation has spent billions of dollars to enforce criminalization of cannabis, yet its consumption remains widespread. Yeah,
everywhere.
This should be done with all drugs, in my opinion.
Nice tie choice, by the way, for the day. Yeah. I know that was thoughtful.
America's not maybe quite ready for that discussion yet. Maybe we win the weed thing first, but man, it's none of the government's business what anyone does. As far as drugs go, that's your own fucking business.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not killing other people in pursuit of them, then...
As long as you're not behind the wheel of a vehicle or something.
When it comes to the very act of you putting a substance in your body to change your brain chemistry and shit, I don't stand in the way of that.
I don't believe in victimless crimes. If you can't show me a victim, then no crime was committed.
Right.
And
you can't victimize yourself.
Yeah, because that's your own body. You can do what you want with it. That's how I feel. I'm very libertarian on that one. I think
the main thing, the main problem I see in the U.S. is people honestly with drugs is stealing to get drugs,
right?
And people getting behind the driving drunk, driving fucking high out of their minds,
endangering anybody else because of the drug use.
Yeah, that's where I kind of draw the line. But if you're at your house and you want to drop acid or you want to do a fucking any crazy drug that's legal and you can get your hands on,
right.
I mean, what the fuck?
You can point to a victim there and a pattern of dangerous behavior and all that stuff.
See, I stopped short of your position, TJ, at the legalization and sale of these types of drugs. I'm fine with that as long as we're investing a commensurate amount of money into treating drug abuse and treating people that have mental problems that turn to these drugs and stuff, because that isn't a victimless crime. When a mother that has 2 children that she's looking after smokes crack, that becomes they're victims in that crime.
That's right.
Right. So you have to have some mitigating circumstance in place.
Sure.
To protect the rest of us from people who get out of their mind on fucking drugs.
It's a healthcare issue. It's not an issue it shouldn't be an issue for law enforcement.
But I mean, we have no problem figuring out how to parse that.
Well, at the very least, it's like
with
Portugal,
the drugs that are currently legal.
Isn't it like Portugal? They just decriminalize all drugs, and then give people mandatory court and treatment, and have to try to deal with it in that way.
I also don't know. I also feel like drugs like crack are going to kind of fade into obscurity if all drugs are legal. I feel like people are going to find better alternatives to that drug if they can go buy it at a fucking legal venue.
I mean, let me put it this way: alcohol has been legal with one hiccup in our past in this country since its inception.
Right.
True.
And we still, to this day, are woefully underfunded and under-facilitated to deal with people who have alcohol problems.
Right.
Yes.
True.
So we haven't even figured out that yet, and it's been legal since God was a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always have this eyebrow-raising moment when they're talking about legalizing cocaine or heroin or some of these harder drugs that people will go out and do crimes to pursue.
Right.
But
I
when
mean,
it comes to the
those drugs were illegal for some time in the U.S.
When it comes to alcohol, though, I mean, I don't think people aren't usually committing crimes to get alcohol.
No,
they're usually committing crimes because they're on alcohol,
which will happen on heroin and crack and
it already does.
meth, and I mean, it happens all the time. All
well,
of these
heroin's probably not going to cause too many crimes.
They're
probably just going to be fucking passed out in the fucking bathroom.
I think
somewhere.
the issue then becomes too. It's not only the drug. You just like Paul saying that Paul brings up a good point. It's what do you do on these drugs? So even if the drug itself is legal, you might still commit illegal acts on the drugs,
or off them.
I mean,
or off them. So I counter you with this. What are you going to do on heroin? Okay, so let's say that you got a poor person that can't afford to go to the heroin store and get heroin.
Right.
But he's a heroin addict.
Yeah.
What's he going to do?
He's gonna steal.
He's gonna go beat somebody over the head and take their fucking wallet and go get heroin.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not gonna change.
But if
that's already happening.
But if
anyway.
the market,
right?
If legitimate manufacturers exist, the price of heroin doesn't need to even cost anywhere near what it does.
I mean, I'm pretty
sure the black market increases the cost.
Right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the price of heroin is going to go down pretty significantly.
Well, it's already happened in weed legal states. The cost per ounce of weed per gram of weed as it's sold is way down in most states.
And for a drug like heroin, that's even more restricted than marijuana ever has been, and it doesn't grow naturally. I mean, like the price is going to go way down if you legalize it.
Yeah,
but yeah, obviously, I'm sure there'll be some people that can never afford it. You're right.
I mean, there are still fucking bums and winos out there begging for change because they can't afford to walk in and buy a cheap fucking $5 handle of wine.
Absolutely.
100%.
So you mean like if you can get the price down that low, there's still going to be people begging for it and needing it.
I mean, I'm not saying that there's not going to be any social.
Well, that's also why having a universal
healthcare
healthcare system we'd be better equipped to deal with that problem.
I just think the social ills caused by the drug war are worse than anything that would be caused by legalizing.
Oh, I agree with you there. Listen, become a fucking patron, you stupid fuck! What are you waiting for? Huh? Get up, grab your credit card, go over to Patreon and become a patron already, for fuck's sake, what do I gotta do? Spoon feed you epic shit while you lay on your back? You gotta go where the food is! Go! Reach into your wallet, take out that card, go to Patreon and swipe that motherfucker and become a real man!
Or woman.
Or a woman.